We're back to the Neil Haley Show and also the media giant effect. And I'm really excited about my guest today, Hamid Kohan. He is the CEO and president of LegalSoft Solution. How are you, Hamid? Thanks for stopping by.
Very good, Neil. Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's talk about your story and journey of becoming an entrepreneur. How did that start for you?
Well, it started very early on. I went to high school in Louisiana. I graduated when I was 14. Then I went to engineering school in California. I graduated when I was 17. And then I got recruited to Silicon Valley to work on high tech, which at that time there wasn't so high. It was sort of a low tech compared to where we are today. So I worked for several great high tech companies like SUN Microsystem, HP, Compaq, and those guys, and saw the industry develop. This was before internet, so before Java and all of those things, and was involved in a couple of IPOs in the high tech industry.
Wow.
Where the companies were really successful. One of the journeys was I was at SUN. We were about 200 people, private little company. When I left, we were like 14,000 of us. So that was an amazing growth and venture. And then after about 20 years, I got recruited to come to LA and be a president of a public company, which was in a streaming media, very much like Microsoft and Real. Did a few years of that and then moved on and started opening up different companies that is either in the high tech, and then moved on into the legal sector and doing a lot of technology and implementation in the legal sector.
So do you have multiple companies you still own compared to this one? Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the one I just talked about today. You can talk about how you got involved in that, but we can talk about other things. It really is this conversation about entrepreneurship. It's got to be amazing and multiple, but being Silicon Valley, what did you learn? I mean, seriously, it's like...
The biggest thing you learn in Silicon Valley is have a plan, have discipline, and don't have limitations. So you're always thinking outside the box, you stick with a plan, you implement, and you surround yourself with a lot of good people. Okay, so that's a Silicon Valley lesson, really, because all of the entrepreneurs and all the success you see in Silicon Valley, it wasn't a one-person show. It was a group of people, and then adding on more people that it can actually contribute, and you grow on a scale. And always thinking outside the box was very important. Basically, the methodology was that don't do what everybody does, do what everybody haven't figured out yet, and then do that. Or
so that's the thing is, I believe it's my mentor, GJ Reynolds, told me this. He said, surround yourself with the right people. If you surround yourself with the right people that are way, I guess, above your pay grade, the more and more you're going to learn, the more and more you're going to develop and understand things. And then you just got to make your mistakes. Look at, again, I just interviewed someone for the Bezos movie, Armando Gutierrez, who played Bezos in the Bezos movie. And I watched it and I was like blown away to know that Jeff, literally 20 years, looked to not make a profit at all. So you got to have to understand in certain ways, you got to stay the course in entrepreneurship. You can't just think it's going to be this overnight success. You got to learn and keep going.
Yeah, I was actually had the exposure to that when that happened, when he came to Silicon Valley for the third or fourth time to talk to the VCs. And he was famous by getting in front of the VCs, and they asked the first thing, so when are you going to be profitable? And he basically said, I have no idea, and it's not in the plan right now. And that sort of blows away the VCs when he say, I don't know, I don't have a plan to be profitable anytime soon because I'm going to be just scaling and growing, which was a good example.
So the VCs who stayed the course with them really are benefiting today, aren't they?
Oh, there is nuts. These a lot of the VCs, any of those VCs who invested in those kind of ventures and mindset and personalities, they all have so much money made from it. They would, at this point, they don't know what to do with it. That's why they're sort of investing on anything that moves.
And I'm sure, as you said, multiple businesses, you're always looking for new businesses. So you do some VC stuff too?
No, everything I've done so far is self-funded.
Mm-hmm.
So
what about for yourself? Do you fund other businesses or not?
No. Yeah, absolutely. I do that often, seed money and so forth, because I love ideas. I love creations. I love being innovative. That's what turns me on. That's why it gets me up in the morning is the innovation and technologies and such. and how we can apply it. And so there's a lot of people with a lot of good ideas. Ideas are not as big of a deal, the implementation is. When you look at things like Apple, it was a better implementation of a PC, or you look at, Facebook is a better implementation of MySpace. So it doesn't need to be brand new, innovative idea versus taking something and making it 10 times better. So implementation is a big factor.
Oh, absolutely. And it looks like your experience level coming into LegalSoft solution is such a powerful thing, because ultimately you understand the industry, and it's like almost like a one-stop shop for the legal firms. And in a way, and kind of you're figuring it out, you're niching down to, hey, I'm only going to work with law firms with your digital process, but it's almost everything one-stop shop, from virtual staffing solutions, social media marketing, SEO, everything. You're giving it all to your clients, pretty much.
Absolutely. And that came about from me being in high tech, and when I went by accident looking at the law firm, trying to help one of my friends who had a medium-sized law firm, and I looked at it and I says, God, this industry is so behind. If you, I always say this, I wrote a book about it too. It says, if you leave them alone, they still be waiting at the fax machine with their pagers. It's because that's how outdated the industry was. And and I don't blame them. When you become an attorney, you have no training or education in marketing, in advertising, in accounting, in HR, in online presence, automation, technology. They got none of that. So when they come, they're sort of on their own, and they try to figure it out the best they can. So when I went in there, I started consulting with them and says, look, I need to redo your entire firm. Are you okay with that? Yeah, sure, give it a try. And then in 2 weeks, half of the firm was gone, and we built a whole new half. And we started implementing technologies. We doubled the size of the firm. We reduced the cost by 34%. And it wasn't that magical, because it was very common sense with somebody who comes from high-tech background, where you streamline everything, you automate everything, and you reduce the cost. So that expands so much to the point where I sort of needed the army to do it for a lot of people. So that's why I started building up an army to actually do it. And essentially just enabling the attorneys to just do what they were supposed to, is practice law. The practice of business of law became 10x more complicated than the practicing of the law. So we basically relieved them of that. I said, we do that while you do the other side. So we just divide up.
So you're looking at the whole back end, not just the marketing, but everything.
No, everything from the receptionist who picks up the call from the client, that we want to capture every opportunity, every client, generating the leads, converting it to cases, then putting a case into automated system that it gets done faster, sooner, kind of a thing. And then have an online presence. Like those days, being in the yellow pages and Yelp was the thing to do. Now there is like 50 other places that you need to be. It's like you got Google reviews, you got Yelp reviews, you got social media. Social media, you got 7 platforms, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And then you got to worry about your website.
And these law firms are not going to be able to figure out the changes that are going to be made. And ultimately, you have to have it all, because people are going to find you in multiple ways. And if you're going to be a successful law firm, you need to buck up and spend money in marketing. You can't expect that. I mean, Google reviews are going to be all it is. No, it's as big as SEO is so important in law, because everyone's searching to find a case to say why they want a specific client, why they define that specific client through that. And that's just the beginning part of the journey. None of them are knowing how to market social media wise. They're all lacking that. They're understand personal branding, podcasting, all these things, and understand that people are, it's a like for like society. If you don't like the person you're going to hire by their mannerisms, their looks, their everything that's involved, your face of the brand, you can't just put a law firm logo and say, okay, I'm going to go hire this law firm.
Yes, absolutely. And you're absolutely right, is that it gets so complicated and so frustrating for them. And even when they have the funds, they go hire like 7 companies, each one doing something. And then there's a management nightmare trying to coordinate the 7 companies, each doing something. Like one does social media, one does SEO, one does the website, one does the lead generation. And then, okay, now I need the army to just manage this army. So we make it in a centralized position to be able to handle all of that under one management, one track, and make it easy and inexpensive to manage. So while we were doing all of this, COVID happened. And now we have a new problem on top of the old problem. Now we can't even get people into this law firm to work. And the 90% of the law firms that I'm working with, staffing became a huge problem.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to find good people to work now.
But look, everybody became entitled. Nobody was hungry anymore. Nobody was forced to work long hours and so forth. So the law firms refuse to scale up and grow because they can't get people.
No, they can't.
Get the cases, they can get the business, they can make money out of it, but I don't have anybody working on it. So you know what? I'm just going to slow down the train.
No, can't do that.
That was good. So I came in and I said, look, again, this is not find a problem, find a solution. We always in Silicon Valley, again, you asked before, what makes a Silicon Valley entrepreneurial different? Everything starts from a problem statement. You always work on fixing a problem. You find a problem, you find the fix, then you hit it big. So staffing was a problem. So I said, okay, well, I can't get anybody here to do what I want, reasonable cost. So we start going overseas. Like some of the big companies like Citibank and American Express and
they
Chase
all
Bank,
have done it. They've
been doing it like some 10 years ago. They were ahead of us, especially the legal industry. So we start recruiting in Philippines, Ecuador, Colombia, Dominican Republic. We actually set up offices and a staff in those countries to recruit, screen, train, deploy, and manage legally trained staff in the U.S. law firms.
So you're talking about paralegals. They're hard to find paralegals.
Everything from intake staff to legal assistants, to case managers, to paralegals, have demand writers. Look, this year, 2022, we implemented finding and placing overseas attorneys into law firms here for $2,500 a month full time. These are the people who finish law school, most of the time in English, so they have good writing skills, reading skills, and everything. And they work as a paralegal here, but they're attorney in their country, and they work here full time on any time that you designate. It's not like one of those where we get here. Can I come in at 10? Can I leave at 4? Can I get a day off and work from home? I don't work weekends. I don't work nights. I don't care if the building is burning down. I'm still going home. That kind of attitude. Versus on that end, it goes, I'm available any hours.
Right, exactly. Because you know how many times people want to call a law firm after 6 o'clock, want to call and have a conversation with somebody that can at least guide them in the next direction, the next step in law. And it's a process. So you really have found that solution. Hamid, do you have other businesses you'd like to promote on today's broadcast that you own? Or is this more?
This is the legal industry is the main part of it that we do between practice management and setup and all the way to, staffing them up to, we have like 500 plus law firms that we work with. This all happened in the past 3 years. And it's growing with about 100 a month. And we take care of A to Z and we scale the heck out of them.
Okay, so that's keeping you busy. So the other businesses are just you're like a Gary Vee or you're like a Mark Cuban. You have money in it and are involved in it a little bit, but this is your baby right here, right?
Yes, these two companies, there are two separate ones. One is a virtual staffing that is under LegalSoft brand, and then there is a practice management solution that is also under LegalSoft brand. But there's two separate entities, but they work on the same target. The target is starting, managing, scaling law firms nationwide in any practice area.
Well, fantastic. We appreciate you coming on. It's great to highlight entrepreneurs here on the Neil Haley Show. Best place people can connect. Where can they go for you and find info on you?
LegalSoftSolution.com is our destination. So if anybody wants any help, just please visit the website. LegalSoftSolution.com is the place to go for any attorney of any size practice.
I'd love to have you back on again to talk entrepreneurship, talk Silicon Valley. Especially, I wish I would have known that you would have been a great resource to talk about Jeff Bezos. So appreciate it. I
I
mean,
have a lot of Jeff Bezos stories. Just look me up, and I'll give you stories that will
I'm
amaze you.
sure the people you've met. All right, you're
Yes.
listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.